basically what the federal government is trying to do is that they're looking to draft regulation that would protect vehicles from technologies that have ties to foreign adversaries, namely China, but that would also include Russia, North Korea, Iran, to name a few. So, a lot of vehicles and vehicle technology, they're made in China. They're made by Chinese companies. And so the question is, how much government control could China have over the U.S. fleet, for example, through these technologies? What data and how much of that data is China collecting?
Landline now, welcome back. Let's wrap the week up with a recap of the biggest stories from trucking over the past few days, from V2X and whatever that is, and computer-related imports to a number of bills of interest to truckers. We've got Tyson Fisher and Mark Schremmer of Landline Magazine joining us with all the details and a little analysis sprinkled in. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me.
I'm doing all right.
Thanks for being here. That's good. That's better than bad, I guess.
Yeah.
I want to start with the USDOT's plan to roll out something called Vehicle to Everything, or V2X technology. They're looking to do this nationwide. Yep. I reported on this earlier in the week, but I think it's worth going over again because it is a foreign concept, Tyson.
Sure.
And you get the assignment of explaining what the heck V2X is.
So, first of all, what it isn't. Vehicle to Everything technology is not autonomous or self-driving technology. So, although autonomous vehicle technology will absolutely use vehicle to everything tech, that will be the case, but V2 Everything technology is not autonomous technology. So with that said, what it is, it's basically the communication between vehicles, infrastructure, and people. So vehicles sending information to other vehicles, vehicles receiving info from traffic signals, just the entire transportation system just communicating with one another is basically what it is. So an example, and I think you even mentioned this in the newscast before, which is Volvo actually has a vehicle-to-vehicle technology, which is where they can let other nearby Volvos know about a slippery road. The thing is, they can only communicate with other Volvos, not other manufacturers. And so what vehicle to everything is that everyone is connected. So a Volvo will connect to, a BMW or, a Ford or whatever. So that's kind of the idea here. And so that also includes like the traffic signals. So we can communicate with the signals. It's just this one big connected thing, ecosystem that we would have with transportation.
Yeah. And then with the USDOT, obviously, they're pursuing this for a number of reasons. I think, number one, safety, that this has the potential for making roadways safer because you've got everything communicating with each other and they can, slow things down if they need to or do this or that. It sounds cool.
Sure, but
I don't... just from my perspective, I mean, it sounds cool, and I think the potential there is great. I just don't know. I mean, it feels like we're a ways off from this.
So the question is, so what's the DOT doing here, and why are they doing it? So this is going, and the way that I phrase it is, there's a lot of cooks in this kitchen. So this is going to involve massive collaboration between the private sector and the public sector. So you've got tech companies, we have auto manufacturers, you got the DOT, you got the Federal Communications Commission, you got all these people trying to do the same thing. And so what the DOT did with this vehicle to everything deployment plan, which is they're basically acting as the project manager of this entire operation. And so that's basically what it is. So what they'll do is that they're trying to put together certain goals and a timeline to meet these goals. And, as you mentioned, it is a safety issue for sure. I think it will absolutely increase highway safety, but it also will save motorists time and money. So kind of think of your navigation apps that we use. So navigation apps, the way that those work is that it just uses data from the users of that app. Well, if the entire U.S. fleet is connected to the same program, essentially, we would have better data to have more accurate traffic maps. And so it's kind of why the DOT is getting involved. But yeah, so there's a lot of stakeholders involved with this. And so this is just a way to kind of just rally everyone up saying, all right, here's the plan. Here's some target dates, and here's what the DOT and the federal government in general is going to do to facilitate the deployment of all these different technologies and whatnot that we have here.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess as you kind of explained there, a lot of these technologies are already being utilized by us individually.
Sure.
It's about connecting all of them, which also sets my spidey senses off about if we're connecting everything, that makes it a lot easier for, hackers, bad actors to get in and cause havoc. And I know that's a concern that they have as well.
There are many concerns here. And those are, you hit the main one. So national security concerns are a big one. As a matter of fact, earlier this year, the Department of Commerce kind of hit on this issue. So it issued an advance notice of proposed rulemaking, which is basically seeking information about security of connected vehicles, which is exactly what this is. So basically what the federal government is trying to do is that they're looking to draft regulation that would protect vehicles from technologies that have ties to foreign adversaries, namely China, but that would also include Russia, North Korea, Iran, to name a few. So, a lot of vehicles and vehicle technology, they're made in China. They're made by Chinese companies. And so the question is, how much government control could China have over the U.S. fleet, for example, through these technologies? What data and how much of that data is China collecting? But then the thing is, you can take those same privacy concerns and extend them to private companies in the U.S. and the U.S. government. How much do we want the U.S. government to know where we are, and where we're going, when we're going?
What we're doing,
yeah. So it kind of it's that slippery slope on privacy issues there. And then we've got cybersecurity. We've talked about the hack of the ELD. How someone just drove by a truck at highway speeds and in seconds hacked into an ELD. Well, this is similar technology. This is connected vehicle technology. So we can extend those same concerns to connected vehicle technology as well.
Yeah, I think there was a Die Hard sequel that kind of was based on this idea. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the big thing you look at here, and what I always have kind of concern is, obviously, I think technology can help safety. I think if you're using it in the right ways, but I feel like at the same time, it seems like we're not wanting to fix the problems with drivers and some of the things that are going on.
They've given up.
I basically said that, Federal Highway Administrator during the press conference, I was listening to some of it, and he even referenced, basically said that drivers have proven to be distracted, drowsy, drunk, drugged, and dumb.
All the D's.
Yeah. So he put out all 5 of those, saying basically his reason that they need to use technology. Now, he was talking about drivers in general. He wasn't talking about specifically truck drivers. But I always relate this back to OIDA has been preaching for years. We need to increase driver training, entry-level driver training standards, and instead it seems like the focus from the government constantly is, let's just put all these gadgets on the truck and not worry about actually having a trained driver. And there's no better way to improve safety than having better drivers behind the wheel, and also from the passenger vehicle standpoint, getting them to understand how to drive around big trucks, and that's a huge gap.
We humans, we've had a good run, right? I think it's time. I don't know. Let's turn to more traditional things here. Let's talk about legislation in Congress that has possible implications for truckers. We've seen some movement, Mark, on 3 bills, I believe, in recent days.
Yeah.
More support for these bills, and it's a long slog, but we're getting there, maybe.
Yeah, these 3 bills that'll mention, they're all ones that are supported by OIDA. These ones would be generally good for truckers. The one thing I want to say before go into them specifically is how difficult it is. While it's definitely optimistic to see that support is increasing, getting any standalone like transportation bill in on its own. It's just a difficult hurdle. But these, when you see the support increasing, I think it gives you the idea of knowing these are the type of things that might, once the next there's a big highway bill package, these are the things that could be put into it, namely the Tax Fairness for Workers Act. Basically, what it would do is, I think back in 22, there was, they basically removed the per diem for company truck drivers, weren't able to put that in, and now this would add that back. That would be a huge benefit to company drivers. And this one is when you talk about a standalone bill being optimistic, a lot of times these co-sponsors, are in 10, 15, 20. This is already up in the House 192, and we've just had, I think, about 4 or 5 in recent weeks here that have been added. So that's, and then there's also a companion bill in the Senate. The 40 senators have signed on as co-sponsors. So there's a lot of support for that one in particular.
Yeah, and bipartisan, we should mention too.
Yeah.
We've got a couple others real quick we can mention here. The Prove It Act, we've had its sponsor, Brad Finstad, Representative Finstad, on the program to talk about that. That would essentially force federal agencies to prove it, to show how a regulation would affect.
Yeah, and specifically for small business, and obviously, as we've talked about, when you talk about small business, trucking is a huge part of that. While this would be encompassing a lot of different industries, a far majority of trucking businesses are small businesses, and you talk to any trucker, they'll tell you there's way too many regulations. So this is the type of bill that most truckers would support. And then another one that we've, again, this is, and we've Representative Nails, who introduced this in the House, the Trucker Bathroom Access Act. This should have been such a slam dunk. Basically, there's no cost to it. There's all it is that if you already have a restroom and you're a shipper or receiver and the truck driver that's delivering to you needs to use the restroom, you let him use it. That
novel concept.
Yeah. That doesn't seem like that should be that difficult, but for whatever reason, that's taken a long way. But I think we're up to 10 co-sponsors now. Again, another bipartisan effort, which is nice, but this should have already been signed long ago, in my opinion. Yeah,
and Tyson, a thing or two about this with the Truck Parking Safety Improvement Act.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, we won't get you started because we don't have enough time to get you started. But I'll pivot here to talk about one more item quickly here before we go.
Sure.
Cross-border numbers for June, as you have pointed out before, not the most exciting or sexiest topic necessarily, but something did stand out to you this time.
Yeah, as you pointed out, not the biggest topic ever, but I've noticed that there has been a trend lately, and that trend is the southern border is pretty hot as far as imports go, and so overall freight hauled across the borders in June went down, but that's mostly because Canadian freight took a hit. But the southern border continues to grow, particularly, and this is the pattern that I found, computer-related imports from Mexico is massive right now. As a matter of fact, it's been trending upwards since January, and in June alone, computer-related freight increased 25% year over year, and that has been the trend. Motive, which is a logistics tech company, they came out with reports saying that Mexico is the biggest U.S. importer. And they mentioned that computer-related parts are a big part of that. And they made a pretty good point, which is as U.S. companies continue to invest in AI technology, computer-related parts are just going to continue to grow for the foreseeable future. So I'm not an economist or a logistics expert, but I say good money might be on computer-related freight coming out of Mexico.
Well, especially with the concerns about China and AI technology and cybersecurity and, national security concerns there as well. So that may be an alternative that we'll keep an eye on. Fightingfortruckers.com, I should mention that, for that legislation we were talking
100%.
about. Get your lawmakers on board. Tyson, Mark, we appreciate it as always, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Our thanks to Mark Schremmer and Tyson Fisher of Landline Magazine for their time. You can check out their work every day on landline.media and in every issue of the magazine itself. We'll be back in just a moment.